Hi, this is Brian Salyer, reviewing the oral component to the applications of decisions module. Um, so for test number one, for the implicit association test number one, I chose the social attitudes cluster. I actually chose this for both. And the first test that I did was the weapons test, which essentially was associating Black and white Americans with harmful and not harmful objects. Um, I know this isn't about necessarily my results. I think after completing this test, and honestly, it was the same for the second one, um, and I'll talk a little bit more about that then. But after completing this test, I don't know. I feel like there was a little bit too much information being provided at once, to really validate the results. First off, trying to discern Black Americans from white Americans from a completely monotone image was a little tricky. Maybe just more so because of my laptop. I don't know. But that was a little tricky. And then also trying to, discern which object was harmful and which object was not harmful. That wasn't as hard. But when it was to the point of I was associating, I was trying to figure out if it was a Black American or a harmful object, and they're assigned to the same button press. And I know I'm trying to go fast and all this stuff. Like it was just a lot going on at one time, and I don't know how accurate the results are. That being said, I was shocked at how much bias there is. Looking at the demographics that they provided at the end, it did seem like there was a lot of bias. In associating Black Americans with harmful objects. The second test that I did was the presidency test, which was essentially associating images of Donald Trump on images of John F. Kennedy with positive words or negative words. I felt very similar taking this test as I did to the other ones. There was just a whole lot of information being provided, and trying to discern it all at one time was difficult. So I'm not sure about the accuracy of the exam. But again, I was kind of surprised at the results at how skewed it was by age, with younger test takers associating Trump poorly at a much higher rate than older test takers. I think that data is also very skewed since it is a Harvard program, which is definitely a left-leaning university. But regardless, I also think a flaw with this exam was how quickly or the as the test went on, you sort of developed a flow at answering the questions. So I feel like the latter responses were a lot more accurate to my ability to associate them than my earlier responses. But yeah, overall, surprising amount of bias with both, but I do feel like the tests were rather inaccurate. Thank you.